everyone is familiar with this play by William Shakespeare called Hamlet. So in 2014, director Vishal Bhardwaj made a contemporary modern adaptation of this play, which is set in modern day Kashmir and which stars Shahid Kapoor, Tabu, Irfan Khan, KK Menon. So in this episode of Spoiler Alert with Sanket, my friend Randhir and I will be discussing this film called Haider, and this film is currently streaming on Netflix. So first, watch that movie, and then watch this spoiler-filled discussion of that film. Hi Randhir, welcome to Spoiler Alert with me, Cinephile Sanket. So in this episode, we are discussing one of your favorite films of 2014, which is Haider, co-written and directed by Vishal Bhardwaj, and which stars Shahid Kapoor and Tabu, Irfan Khan, and KK Menon. So something little bit about the film. So it stars Shahid Kapoor, which he is in the titular role, who is actually who, uh, who is shocked by his father's death, and he returns to Srinagar, who actually returns to Kashmir, to just to know that his uncle was actually the killer of his dad. So Randhir, I wanted to ask you, what was your experience watching this film?
Well, Sanket, as far as my experience goes, so this is the third in Vishal Bharadwaj Shakespeare tragedy trilogy, right? Before this, we had this thing Makbul back in 2003, 2004, and we had Omkara back in 2006. Makbul was based off Macbeth. Omkara was based off of Othello, and Hamlet ko to aana hi tha kabhi na kabhi. It is such a renowned work of Shakespeare, one of his probably one of his most famous works. So Kabhi Na Kabhi Aana Tha, and I'm so happy Vishal Bharadwaj brought it. So the main thing is the way Vishal Bharadwaj basically understands the Shakespeareesque tragedy. The way he understands these Shakespeare characters is something very unique. Let me tell you that. And basically, he lot of other directors also make Shakespeare adaptations, basically his tragedy adaptations. But the way Vishal Bharadwaj adapts these plays into movies is very unique. You know, he understands the characters so well, he understands their plight, their tragedy so well, and the way he translates those characters, their emotions, their feelings, all the mental turmoil that they are undergoing, and the way he translates it into today's atmosphere, into Indian landscapes, वो बहुत unique होता है. That's the thing. Okay. And the lot of other directors, as I told you, also make Shakespearean tragedies, but कैसे होता है कि the way he translates those characters, they become very believable characters, like people whom you have met in your life and who are very believable. They are very believable people in that particular landscape, but at the same time, they are also Shakespeare characters' counterparts, you know. And they very well, this thing, translate all the emotions. They play the part of that particular character there. That is what is so unique about Vishal Bharadwaj and the way he adapts Shakespeare. That's the thing. Now, among the trilogy, among Vishal Bharadwaj Shakespeare trilogy, I like Haider the most. Okay, I really love Hamlet, so I like Haider and the way he has brought it. Now, the main thing is about Hamlet, and the main emotion that it kind of studies throughout is revenge. Okay, it studies revenge, it studies it, it glorifies it, then it looks at it from a critical point of view, ki how revenge works out, and how it affects people, and that's what Hamlet is about. This basic feeling of revenge and venging back someone dear lost. And Vishal Bharadwaj, being who he is managed to take this play, this story, and base it in Kashmir in 1990s, mid 1990s, जहाँ पे ये emotion of revenge, vengeance बहुत strong था. And now I think this is the most perfect move any director can make in an Indian landscape, because and taking Hamlet being this king of Denmark, prince of Denmark, and bringing him to be this Kashmiri boy, this Kashmiri youth. ये बहुत एक अच्छा decision था from a this thing creative point of view, if you ask me, because Kashmiri youth, a Kashmiri boy of that time was undergoing the same emotions, you know. Yeah, they are also they were also losing their near and dear ones. They were getting disappeared with crackdowns, and the military insurgents or militants were turning up into Kashmir, and they were brainwashing these Kashmiri youth, and they were turning them into this thing militants, into terrorists who work for them. So in this whole atmosphere, to bring the story of Hamlet, this I feel was a masterstroke, first of all. And then, of course, Vishal Bhardwaj, he understands Shakespeare like a genius. So he's based it here, and he has he's made Haider Mir, this thing, youth, and he comes from a well-educated, literate family. His father is a doctor, a surgeon. His mother is a school teacher. His uncle is a lawyer. All are very well read. And so in such an atmosphere, when the social violence, the thing it creeps in, and how it affects this boy's mind, and Hamlet, like, and as well as Heather, they are of artistic bent of mind. They are not people like इसने मेरे बाप को मारा, अभी मैं इसको मार दूंगा. वो mentality ना Hamlet की थी ना Heather की है. They are people who study everything, contemplate everything. What is this happening? What is the meaning of everything? And then they go about it. So that was beautiful, the way that whole emotion translated here. Okay. And that was one of these are one of the master strokes, the way all the characters, the way they remain faithful to their Hamlet counterparts, and yet they become so unique in this whole universe that Vishal Bhardwaj creates, whether it is this thing, Claudius, who's now Khalil or Khurram, I forgot K.K. Menon's character's name. Khurram, yeah. So he's a smooth talking lawyer. He's evil, but he doesn't like confront and say, hey, I did this. He talks smoothly. He खुद के फायदे का सोचता है, but he makes you think that वो तुम्हारे फायदे का सोच रहा है. And that's how he is. And then that Parvez का character जो है Polonius पे based है from Hamlet, and the way he is, he's a very what do you say, worldly wise guy who just a big sycophant, but he loves his children, and that's exactly how the character Parvez plays out. But one additional, I'd say, stroke of genius that Vishal Bhardwaj managed to do in Haider was he turned the most weakest character of Hamlet into the most strongest character. And I'm talking about Ghazala, played by Tabu, who's the counterpart of Gertrude. Now, in the play, Gertrude is criticized to be quite not much of a strong character. Unka wahi rehta hai ki she was the queen of King Hamlet, who was the Prince Hamlet's father. After he died, she promptly married Claudius, his brother, her brother-in-law, to retain the position, and that's what she's after. And we don't know much about her. There's a lot of ambiguousness surrounding her. Now, what they've done here is they've made her a school teacher, and she's the one who sends Haider off the violent tracks, and she tells him, you're not going to stay here in Kashmir, you're not going to get radicalized. The gun which he brings home from his militant friend, she takes it and she puts it on her own temple and says, you're not going, either I shoot myself or you're just going to get out of here. So that stroke of converting the most weakest character of the play into the most strongest character in the movie, and the way it is done so beautifully, that is one master stroke by Vishal Bhardwaj. And also the message. Now, jitne bhi Hamlet ke adaptations rahe hain, the people have generally glorified the feeling of revenge. You know, they've said that revenge has to be taken. You need to avenge when you lose someone dear to you. But yahan pe that message of revenge, it is turned into its own head with that famous dialogue. इंतकाम से सिर्फ इंतकाम पैदा होता है, जब तक हम अपनी इंतकाम से आजाद नहीं हो जाते कोई आजादी हमें आजाद नहीं कर सकती. दिस डायलॉग, ये जो मैसेज जो लाया है इस फिल्म में, दैट इज रिमार्केबल.
This
You know,
actually
and
this dialogue was spoken by two different people and twice actually, and every time this dialogue whenever it came on screen, it created a very impact on that scene and on the story in general as well. So when first of all, actually Kulbhushan Kurbana, I think, yeah, so he actually first says the this dialogue, and I wasn't expecting, since just yesterday I rewatched it for the second, sorry, for the fifth or sixth time actually. And when I watched it, I didn't expect, I actually kind of forgot, since I watched this film 2 years back, and I didn't knew that Tabu's character will also say these very dialogues, and I was shocked when in the climax Tabu actually speaks this kind of dialogue. And as you mentioned, I personally didn't knew that uh, Tabu's character in the original Shakespeare's play, had any big reference, big kind of thing. But actually, that's actually the greatness of Vishal Bhardwaj, where he actually knew the main role, like main. I should say the that's the word, like main potential, yeah. So main potential of this character, and he himself turned her, like she create like he created more of her role, and that's actually a very great thing about me. And even for me also, so I personally don't watch much of Bollywood films, but like obviously this is where Vishal Bharadwaj, and I know that Vishal Bhardwaj actually takes, hires Gulzar Saab to write his songs, the lyrics of his songs. And I just loved when the Jalam song came, like, oh my god, like Jalam, that song was
yeah,
just very
that it becomes the metaphor. Jhelum
exactly.
becomes the metaphor for Haider's struggle to find reason in the mad world.
Exactly, and that's it actually came at a very right moment in the film, since he is looking for his dad, and he's very confused, and like Jhelum River definitely becomes a metaphor. And even at the end of the song, like that was one of my favorite parts of the film, where a boy who was actually covered with blood, and he was actually presumed dead by the authorities as well, and even the boy himself was like, I am actually dead. But finally he was like shocked and surprised that, okay, I'm alive. And oh my god, like, so I was actually very shocked by seeing that moment. That was a very impactful scene for me, because like a very dark moment for me. And even like you said, even Vishal Bhardwaj actually creatively, what he did was he creatively paid a tribute to William Shakespeare, because obviously I don't know about what the original play of Hamlet is, but I know that the first dialogues of the films are to be or not to be. That is the question. And Vishal Bharadwaj actually paid tribute to William Shakespeare's Hamlet's dialogue, initial dialogues, multiple times. First, it was to go or not to go. When I think, Salman's those twins
Yeah,
kind of thing, those friends or twins, I don't know,
yeah,
but like they actually
the
tell
twins.
the dialogue, and in a very funny way, and I just liked it. And
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, they play the counterparts of
oh, oh I,
Hamlet's two.
oh wow,
Yeah.
actually, like you said, like after watching, like after hearing from you, I'm actually very curious to watch the original Hamlet, because obviously now I know that there is an Indian adaptation of Hamlet, obviously, but I haven't watched the original,
And
the story, and I'm very curious to know how it worked out in the medieval England, where like
no,
I
it was
think
in Denmark, medieval
Denmark.
Denmark.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
sorry, yeah, medieval Denmark. Yeah, exactly. Like
yeah.
I'm just very
So
curious to watch it.
yeah.
But I if I wanted to ask you, what was the impact of the songs for you in general, and personally speaking?
Well, you have two legends who collaborate like magic. You have Vishal Bhardwaj, the composer. You have Gulzar, the lyricist, and you have their frequent singer collaborators like Sukhwinder Singh. And the magic is going to, it's going to be magical, and it doesn't disappoint. The play within the play song, like in Hamlet, there is this play within a play where Hamlet is still not sure if his uncle is the killer of his father. And so he designs this play within a play. He designs this play which plays inside a play called Mousetrap to see his reaction. And that translates here as Bismil, the Bismil track. And the way it has been filmed, full theatrical with all those aggressive dance steps, and Shahid Kapoor obviously doing a wonderful job at it. They used his potential as a dancer so well, and the way he dances out the whole song and the way the whole story plays out, and they've actually maintained the authenticity. Now I can't recollect what that dance form is called, but that too is Kashmiri, and the way that whole song plays out, and with those huge models, it looks grand, and it really looks very theatrical. And in the end, he see the way they all turn towards this curry. This KK Menon's character, and just to see his reaction to the whole thing. I mean, it was wonderful, and even the other songs. There's this Gravedigger song, Aona, the way it plays out, and that's also an important point in the play where Hamlet visits grave diggers who are digging graves, and there he finds this skull, human skull, and it belongs to what do you say, comedian, a clown he knew once. And that's when he realizes how feeble life itself is, how feeble your body itself is, and how it's just going to turn into it's just going to turn into dust. It's going to turn into an ugly skull one day. And even that song, कि आओ ना कि जान गई जहां गया सो जाओ, थक गई है जिंदगी सो जाओ, that the way it translates that emotion. And in the end, after the whole movie is over, after the movie ends, you have the Rekha Bharadwaj singing Aaj Ke Naam. And there they have taken actually Faiz's poetry, Aaj Ke Naam, Aaj Ke Gam Ke Naam, and they have kind of reworked the lyrics to
Yeah,
suit the
actually, that's
movie.
the reason Faiz Ahmad Faiz is actually credited with Gulzar Saab. Actually,
Yeah, yeah.
when the
That
credits were
for that one
rolling,
song.
exactly. I actually was thinking that, okay, which song did Faiz Ahmad Faiz wrote? But so now I actually got to know that, okay, that was a song. And yeah, even for me as well, Randhir, the Bismil song was a very great impact for me. Like it was my best song in that film, because uh, for me, actually, frankly speaking, this was one of those rare moments where actually the song was actually taking the narrative very further. And he through the song he was getting to know that, did the uncle did he kill his father or not.
Yeah.
And just after that,
And
he realizes that, okay, yeah, he did. And actually he, like, obviously the song was actually part of the narrative. And that's the reason he later told that arrest him, and all that stuff just happened.
yeah, exactly. and that's the way that song plays out is very. That's the good thing about this movie. The way it balances the impact of all those scenes of Hamlet, and how they are, what emotion they are supposed to bring out, and how it also weaves into this particular story that we are being shown. That is actually quite commendable, and that's what, even that's how they brought in that grave digger scene. And actually, one thing I would like to tell you, there is one criticism about the play Hamlet, that it is quite misogynistic, and it's there are two scenes, there are two verses, like that "Frailty, thy name is woman" verse, and then that nunnery scene which plays out. So because of that, over time people have criticized that that movie, it talks very critically of the woman in the play, and that play talks very views its woman very critically, and that's actually Hamlet's frustration. He's angry with his mother for just leaving his father and marrying his uncle. He's pretending to be mad, to trying to find out what is the reason. He's feigning his madness, and while he's doing that, he's also being very rude and very bitter to his girlfriend, his lover, Ophelia. So that's he tells her, you should go to a nunnery. So all those scenes, they just took it out of Haider, because of course we are right now in times where feminism is strong, and I mean, unnecessary woman bashing is not something that people would like to see. And from a play that is criticized of actually being misogynistic, Vishal Bhardwaj actually managed to turn it and make it a movie about a strong woman in the form of Ghazala. And when Haider is almost on the brink of taking revenge and avenging his father's death, he's almost on that bloodlust spree. At that time, she comes and she tells him this thing about intakam, and she brings back the peace in him, and she just makes him forego this feeling of revenge.
But
So the way that is
Randhir, actually, I wanted to ask you, what was the original character, which was actually like, what was the original counterpart, which was played by Irfan Khan?
So Irfan Khan is playing the ghost of King Hamlet, and that he's appropriately called Rudar. I wanted to come to that as well. So basically, what happens is we don't see King Hamlet who died, and suddenly in the very first scene of the play of Hamlet, you see the ghost of King Hamlet come and ask for his son, Prince Hamlet, and he tells him to take revenge. He demands revenge out of him. He forces him, you take revenge for my death. Okay. Now, and Prince Hamlet, he reluctantly agrees. Okay, I'll take revenge from this one, Claudius, who's his younger brother. So the thing is, there is this sense of ambiguity. After that ghost leaves, Hamlet is not sure if it was actually his father's ghost. He feels it if it was some other evil spirit, some evil entity who was trying to take him for a ride. All those emotions play out. So with all that ambiguity attached to the character of Ghost of Hamlet, it was again a good move to bring in another another character to play the ghost, instead of having his own father come back as a ghost, So that's what makes this character doubt him, whether ये जो बता रहा है ये सही बता रहा है or he's trying to use me. So that it adds to the whole dilemma that Hamlet is supposed to have in the play. And one more thing, Sanket, is that this movie, this play and the movie, it is a character study of this character Haider or Hamlet. So one thing you would note is that when the character Parvez, the counterpart of Polonius, that is Ophelia or Archie's father, he's killed. Then his son, Polonius's son, and this thing, Ophelia's elder brother Lartus comes back, and the character is played by Amir Bashir in this movie. And he just sees his father's dead body, and he knows Haider or Hamlet is responsible, and he just comes into that revenge form. But for Hamlet or Haider, it takes this whole movie to get into this revenge form, or to get into this form beast mode where he's just after revenge. So that's the whole comparison about Hamlet and about the kind of thinking that Hamlet has, and he's not the kind of person who gets into the revenge streak very easily. He's the guy who philosophizes about life, about life, about everything that happens, and about each and every emotion. So that's what that's the thing which has been translated here into the movie.
But so finally, I wanted to ask your final thoughts about this film.
Final thoughts: it is it is a masterpiece. I feel in the whole decade of 2010 to 2020s, I would consider this one of, if I have to pick 10 best movies, I would definitely consider this one, Haider. I mean, of course, it is so good in so many ways. It is a perfect adaptation. It is a perfect story on its own. And yeah, one more thing that we didn't speak much about. Vishal Bhardwaj insisted on getting co-screenwriter Basharat Peer, who's lived in Kashmir, who's seen that life of 1990s Kashmir persecutions, the crackdowns that we see in the very beginning of Haider. And he wrote this brilliant book. I can't remember the name of that book. 1 minute, hold on.
But it's okay. Like I'll just put the name of the book in the description.
Yeah. So yeah, actually, I'm reading that. I've just started reading that book. But yeah, he's seen that life, and Vishal Bhardwaj insisted on getting him for the Basharat Peer for co-writing this movie with him, because he wanted to get that genuine agony of the Kashmiri people, into it. And by the way, Basharat Peer also has a cameo in the movie. He's the one whom Irfan's Rudar frisks up so that he can enter his own house. That's him in the movie. Yeah.
Oh.
So that's the so many, what do you say, Easter eggs in the movie, and so many references. I mean, if you've read the play, and if you're very thoroughly familiar with the background, you can appreciate the movie even more for what it accomplishes. And after this movie, Bollywood itself got one formula of taking some great literature work and trying to base it in Kashmir and trying to turn it into a masterpiece. But the other movies which tried to do this weren't so successful. This one, Abhishek Kapoor tried making Great Expectations as Fitur in Kashmir, wasn't so good. And Imtiaz Ali's and brother Sajid Ali tried to make Laila Majnu in Kashmir. That movie has a lot of fans, and it is a kind of a cult movie, but I wouldn't say it is anywhere near Haider and what it tries to achieve.
Wow. So Randhir, finally, thank you so much for coming to my show. It's been a real pleasure having you discuss this great film. Personally, I like this film very much. Obviously, you personally know that I don't watch more Bollywood films, but this one actually stands out. And even thank you so much for coming to my show, and we'll see you, I'll see you soon, and goodbye.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for calling me. You take care.